Hello everybody, it is Tim Michael with TimMichaelArts.com, and oh my goodness, I have been so busy. I have a lot to tell you about before we get started on our tutorial, so let's go ahead and get into that. As you guys know, I'm getting married here in December, and that means that I have a lot of wedding planning I have been doing with my lovely fiancée Shay, and lots of planning, lots of nights on web camera back and forth because she is in Montana and I'm in Florida, as we are discussing wedding plans. And one of the big things, as many of you guys probably don't know, is that I had to get a place, move into a place that I was ready for her when it's time to bring her down here to Florida in December after we get married. And I have been busy moving in. I've been keeping up with my artwork for my clients. I've been working at Shadow Graphics. I'm a graphic designer with them. Lots and lots of stuff going on that has totally kept me completely away from YouTube, and I don't like it. I miss you guys. So, I have promised you guys for a while now that I would do a video for you on color theory. Now, I will say, I never went to college. This is all self-learned stuff. So, I am sure college would have a much more in-depth area of color theory, and I am going to give you the very basics, the Tim Michael basics. And for those of you who have attended college and gone through color theory 101, you're gonna probably not be as impressed with this video. But I'm hoping for those of us who are trying to figure out things like shadow for faces and just trying to figure out how to get certain tones for certain lighting scenarios and things like that. I hope that this is eye-opening for everyone else. If you like it, please make sure to hit the like button. By the way, thank you to all my new subscribers. I have seen so many new people come in the past couple months, and of course I haven't been able to get on to thank you all so much for your kindness, for your support, for all of your comments, for going to my website and checking out my tutorials on there. Thank you very much. Let me say one more thing and then we'll go ahead and get started. Because I am really concerned about copyright infringement for other companies, I am actually going to be cutting out the user interface of Photoshop and other art programs unless I have their permission. Like, for instance, Mischief. I have some upcoming videos that I will be doing where we're going to be giving away some Mischief software as part of what I would hope to do as a contest for Mischief. As you guys have seen, that video on my channel has been going up pretty quickly. I'm really looking forward to it. I've talked with Mischief. They've given me their permission, but I don't have permission from companies like Photoshop or from Paint Tool Sci or from other softwares. And I do sell videos teaching how to draw on some different softwares. I am going to do my best to try and teach you how to do that, but I want to make sure, because I don't want to cause any copyright infringement of any sort and have these companies come after me, that I'm going to cut out their user interface, and I'm going to try and teach you as best I can, working in the confines of my artwork. I am sorry. I'm just really concerned about that. Now, if Photoshop wants to come to me and tell me, hey, Tim, of course you can. What are you thinking? I would love that. So if anybody that works with Photoshop is out there, or Illustrator, or Paint Tool Sci, or any of those, please give me a buzz and let me know that I have the permission of El Corporate, the corporate, to use the interface in my videos that I sell. So anyway, I have some other stuff going on that I'm kind of excited about. I'm waiting for some emails back. There is a possibility that I might be doing some stuff in the near future with a company called Pencil Kings. We'll see. No promises. I have no idea. They've emailed me twice. I've replied, and they haven't replied back. So if anyone from Pencil Kings is out there, please drop me an email back. I've tried to email in you, and I haven't heard back. So really excited about working on some new stuff going on. Obviously, we have a contest coming up where I'm going to be giving away the Mischief software. And then today, basic color theory with Tim Michael. So I'm going to go ahead and get right down to it. I am using Photoshop CS6. I'm also using a Wacom Intuos 5, and this one is a medium board. And it's a good board. I love drawing with it. I've actually put my Cintiq to the side, mainly because it's starting to get a little buggy. It's a couple years old, and I haven't had, I don't have the money to get a bigger one. I don't have any time to get a new one. I don't have the finances, so I use it from time to time, but there's a lot of wires that go into having a Cintiq where I can just plug in my simple Intuos 5 and I'm good to go with one USB. So I'm going to do that for this video. So not a lot of drawing going on, more just explanation, demonstration of working with colors. Alright, so color theory. I'm going to go ahead and start by making my new layer. And you need to take a look at your layer panel in Photoshop. And I'm going to go ahead and pull in this part of the user interface, since we are talking mainly about colors. Okay? Basically, the long story short that I've learned is that you have to work in a certain spectrum of color when you're doing anything. I'll go ahead and draw something up really quick just to kind of prepare for the demonstration, and that way you guys can kind of get an easy feel. Now, as you know, I'm a caricature artist. I like drawing cartoons and caricatures and whatever, and usually I start off all of my videos with some crazy caricature of someone or something or who knows what. And I mean, you guys have seen in each one of my videos I say, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm drawing. Well, that still holds true. So I'm just quickly sketching out, some individual. And of course I am using pressure sensitivity, since I am a humongous fan of proper line quality and pressure sensitivity and all those different things like that. So as you guys might know, Wacom has come out with some brand new tablets, and I'm really excited about these tablets. Obviously the very large new HDs that they have coming out that are big, humongous, beautiful studio tablets, which I would love to have. But then also their brand new, I think it's called the Companion or something like that, and it's literally a tablet, and I do mean the tablet like the iPad or whatever, and it's pressure sensitive like the Wacom is. I know artists have been dreaming for this day, and it's finally happened. So very, very cool. I'm very excited to see about what happens with those. I know I would love to have one of those, but just don't have the finances for that at this point in time. Just finally got my own place, finally getting all settled in and enjoying life and getting ready to get married, which is going to be even more fun. And so timing right now is not there when it comes to the extra money to get one of those things. Let me go ahead and just finalize this drawing here. And what brush am I using, just to let you guys know that. I'm using a very fine feather pressure sensitive brush, so it's kind of like an airbrush. And the harder I push, the thicker the line's going to get, and also thicker it's going to get, and the sharper it's going to get. Where if I let loose a little bit more and I go light, it's going to be like a fuzz. Excuse me. Alright, so as you can see, quick sketch, and we have, I think, our building blocks for working on color theory. Alright, now where I use color theory the most, and I'm calling this color theory, I'm sure that there's much better explanations for this tone value, I'm sure there's 100 different things, but where I use it the most is in skin tones. When I select my skin tones, I'm always looking for a certain skin tone spectrum, and I follow this spectrum to get the good color values, because I find that if I do one way or another, I hurt myself in certain ways. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm putting in a basic skin tone. I just pick mine out by eyeballing it. And it's not always the best way to go. It doesn't hurt. If I may make a suggestion to everyone, when I teach my students online, I tell them, go and find your favorite artist, and then use that artist's colors. So, not copying their artwork, but take their artwork, bring it into Photoshop, and then select their colors with your color picker, and then you can color it the way that you want. I mean, still your art, you're not taking from them, you're simply using the colors that they use. And it's a really good way to go. Now, me personally, I like doing all my stuff myself. I don't like having to pull in reference photos, because I'm ADD. I want to pull something in and I want to get right to work. But if you're really interested in getting another artist's tones and values, that's the way to do it. Pull it into Photoshop, use their colors, and go from there. Now, this is what I would call a white point. And it's kind of hard to explain, but simply put, this. Let's do this. If I want to go lighter than this color, I can't. Okay, this is the brightest this color can possibly get. And here's why. If we take a look at the color, you can see that my dot is all the way at the very top. I can't take it any brighter. To go brighter, I'm going to start pulling it to the side to lead towards white. But what that does is it makes the color itself lose its brightness. So I basically call this a white point. This is the furthest I can possibly get to still retain color. I guess the best way to explain it is you take a picture with a camera and the camera becomes white out, so like a blue sky suddenly looks white. And that's because you've gotten to the highest point of blue that you can possibly get. And because of that, now it's stretching into white. That usually makes for a bad picture. I'm sorry about this display showing up on the side. If you can see this, it froze. So I'm just going to keep going with it, and I am so sorry that it's going to probably show throughout, unless I can get rid of it. There we go. Very nice. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know if it shows or not. But when you get to this total white point, you lose all your detail. And that usually makes for a very, very not so good photo. Or not so good painting. You really don't want to get to that point. There's only one point that you really truly want to use the purest white. And I would suggest that's for highlights and eyes. Dead serious, that's about the highest you want to go. That's the only place that you really want to use these white points. Now, I'll try to explain. If I take this pure white and I try to shade my character's face with this pure white, even if I drop my opacity down, I start immediately losing important definition because it's a white point. It's the furthest I can possibly go. And even if I did a partial of that, instead of pulling from this color, which is the heightened part, even if I just start going to the left and start going into the whites, you'll find as you paint highlights that you are using something that's just removing definition, and it's causing your artwork to look more pale, to look more washed out. And that, to me, is not good. So here's what I do instead. And here's where my whole color theory spectrum sort of stuff comes into play. I learned that anything that sits on the very top part of this readout, that is the white point. That is the highest you can possibly go. Now, a bunch of you guys are watching this and you go, no duh. Well, for those of us who don't know this, I hope that we learned something from this. But for all of you no-duhers, good for you guys. I'm still catching up to you. So this is your this is your total white point. This is the highest you can possibly go in this light. And as much as possible, I've learned you want to stay in a straight spectrum, a straight path. So anything that you do, you want to do in a straight path from black to the highest point of color. And if you stick in this area without moving to the right and without moving to the left, you will have the cleanest art possible. I've found that in the past when I've painted images, I've had people ask me, why does it look so dirty? Well, that's because maybe when I was trying to pull in some shadows, I reached in like this, and I grabbed from a whole different area, a whole different line of spectrum. And when I tried to shade it in, it might look okay at first, but it starts to, once again, lose its definition. And the only way that I can say to do it, with the lack of time that we have in this video, is not to, watch me paint this, but to try it for yourself. You might be okay with it, and maybe you find a way to use it okay. I know lots of artists who do. Me personally, though, I find this very difficult. So I've learned not to go this route, and I'm probably not going to be able to go back enough to do that. So here's what we do instead. We grab from the highest white point that I can possibly get, and then I'm going to drag straight down. And whatever I drag straight down to is going to benefit my art in the final. I'm going to go ahead and just do 100% because I'm just trying to get this done as quickly as possible. And this is the natural cause and effect. When light hits you differently and you get those shadows, the only thing that's happening is you're adding black to your shadow, unless you have lighting coming from other places. Like, for instance, if you have, a backlight of some sort, or, you're in a certain scenario, like, for instance, like a club or a concert where there's lots of lights going on and flashing all over the place, and you have to give your character some definition saying, hey, I'm in a different scenario than a normal lighting scenario. You need to throw those in there as backlights, but when it comes to normal lighting scenarios, in normal lighting areas, you're going to work on this spectrum, a very straight line from top to bottom of this color. And I can show you here. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of this to the bottom of this kind of ball that I'm creating. And like I said, this is the furthest point that you ever want to get. But I can go as dark as I want with this part of the spectrum, just so I stay in a straight line from top to bottom. Anything I do really is only going to add to my piece. It's not going to muddy it. It's going to make it look very clean. And it's just going to add more definition in the areas where I want more definition. Now, if I'm also really picky, which I am, I can grab I can grab either my airbrush or I can grab my mixer brush tool, and I can kind of mix the shadows together so it looks more clean. But in the area of color theory, in the area of working with skin tones and working with lighting technique and trying to get things proper, all you have to do is work on that straight path, and anything that you add to your stuff is probably going to add to it and make things stick out more. It's going to give you some more definition and some more play. Let me go ahead and put in like a line for which way the shadow is going for this ball. There we go. Okay, so anything that I add to this is going to work. Now here's my problem with what I've done. I have completely started this at its highest white point, which means I can't add highlights to this. So here's what I've learned. Here's the technique that I have adjusted to fit this better. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take a new face, and I'm going to pull it to the side. Let's see if I can quickly move everything around here real quick. And of course, my keyboard's across the other side of my desk, which I'm not even going to worry about touching right now. And I'm just going to basically move things over so they hold some shape just for now. There we go. Okay, so, oops, wrong face. I am so sorry. Let me go grab the right face. Here we go. Alright, now, let me go ahead and get a new color palette. I mean a new layer. Now, remember what our white point is. It's the very top. I like that color. I'm going to stick with it. So instead, I want to add highlights. I want to maybe do art differently. Start from dark and build to light. Or me personally, start at a mid-tone and work to light and dark. That's more my preference. So what I'll do is I'll come down here and I'll select a midpoint in my straight line of spectrum, and I will color my character with this darker tone. Now, the reason why I like doing this is because I can actually make more definition. I'm used to doing things with what I'll still call the white point or high point, and then building in my darks. And that's more of a color cartoonist's way of doing things. Because you're trying to get artwork out fast, you only need one layer of color to make a point that they are not flat, that they're 3D. And usually you can finish up a piece very quickly because of that. But you lose a lot of chance to give definition. And like I said, you stay at the highest point, you can't go any higher except to go to white, which makes things look white washed out. So, I'm at the midpoint now. Looks pretty good. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select my high point if I want to. I might not do my white point right away. I might do like a mid to the high point. So let me do that. I'll do a mid to the high point. And I'll make a new layer just so I can do this. And then also I'll switch my brush so it has no pressure sensitivity. And if it has pressure sensitivity, it will only be in pressure for how much ink sprays out, not how thick my line is. And then I'll drop my opacity way down to like 25 or even less. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start building up where my highlights are going to go. Okay, now here's the nice thing. I'm not working on a high point. So anything I do at this point is going to start adding immediate definition. And I can build from this and go further. But for right now, all I'm doing is I'm just starting to give some structure. Any light that I'm going to put on this face is going to make those parts of the face stick out towards the camera, and any dark that I put on this face is going to make those parts of the face disappear away from the camera. It's going to push them back into the darkness. So as I start pulling certain things out of this face, you're going to see certain things start to kind of go away. In the same way, let me go ahead and select my midtone, go back into my colors, and reach down into my darker values, staying on that same straight tone. And then I can go ahead and start coloring in even deeper and start getting some more of that definition. Now, jumping off the topic a little bit, let me tell you something else. Your best bet is not to do all of your shadows fuzzy. Everyone does. You're not the only one. It's okay. Be willing to take your shadows to the next level. And let some of them be hard shadows. Let them have hard edges. It's okay. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you take your hand and you put a flashlight behind it and you hold it up and you hold your hand right up against the wall as you're pointing the flashlight at it, you'll notice that the feather around the shadow of your hand is almost nil. It's almost like a hand-drawn pencil line. But as you pull your hand further away from the wall, and as you pull your flashlight further away from your hand, that begins to become fuzzy. And the reason it begins to become fuzzy is because you're removing the lighting source. So whatever's closest is going to have a lot of hard edges, and whatever furthest away is going to have soft edges. And you want to keep that in mind. You want your artwork to not look fuzzy. You want it to look clean. You need to go the next step other than just doing your color theory, but also showing that in your shadows and highlights. So as you can see, I'm really starting to dig some depth out of here. Following my same spectrum, I'm just building my shadows and my highlights. And I haven't even come close to touching my white point yet, which is, excuse me, I got the hiccups, which is very good. Because I want the freedom. I want the freedom to be able to add my highlights and truly make stuff pop. Because I don't find the shadows really make things pop nearly as much as highlights do. I'll show you that in a second as I keep building this up a little bit more. Don't you think, now that you're kind of looking at the picture on the left-hand side and you're looking at the picture on the right, how washed out it seems? Like I said, that's the highest point you can get with that before it starts to turn white. And that is the furthest you want to go. So far so good. And you can see this side on the right side looks more defined, looks cleaner. Now it's still a little muddy because there's not a lot of definition. Let's go ahead and start adding some more highlights. So I've selected not the mid-tone, but the slightly brighter tone. And now I'm going to start heading towards my high point. Okay, so now I've gotten some more of this brighter tone, and I'm going to start applying it over top my highlight that's already there. And I'm also going to try and start adding more definition by keeping some of the harder edges in the final piece. Okay, so in certain areas I want the feather to be very not bold. I want it to be fuzzy, like on the forehead. But in the areas like the nose and the mouth and the ears and certain areas like that, I really want there to be a hard edge around the highlight. That way it really starts to stand out a little bit. Areas like the chin, I want more fuzzy, you know. So wherever there's like a really hard fold, like your ear, how your ear folds into itself, you want a really hard, thick line, a hard line there with no fuzz. You know, that way it really kind of makes a stand, it makes a point, puts it right out there. But look at all the definition that this face is suddenly getting because of this extra highlight that I'm adding into here. Alright, and I haven't hit my high point yet. I still have more to go before I hit that white out. Now I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm getting pretty close to my high point, so I need to keep this in mind. And I'm going to start adding some more highlights in here even more. More on the nose, maybe even some on the nostril here. I'm going to make that just a bit more fuzzy, maybe not as hard as I did on the top of the nose, you know. I'm going to kind of fuzz a little bit more of this highlight into the cheeks. Now it's starting to get a little bit more high point where it's kind of blinding. So I don't want to go too much more than this, quite honestly. I want to keep a nice balance. Now, like I said, I'm shaping my character. I'm pulling certain parts of his face out and pushing certain parts of his face back. And I want to keep doing this until I finally feel like I'm reaching the point that I was really hoping to get to. I might even go back and grab some of my darks and knock out certain things, like the smile. I want maybe to have some laugh lines in here. Maybe I'll grab some midtones and I'll throw them in here to kind of bring out the lip a little bit, but still keep that laugh line there. You know, so once you get to this point, you can start selecting the colors throughout the face and start building the definition, removing definition, trying to try and finally get what you're looking to get here. So far, so good. I've never been great at laugh lines, quite honestly. Laugh lines are tough to do because it's not a laugh line so much, it's a crease in the skin, which means that there's some areas where some hard shadows have to go and some areas where you have to kind of be light on some certain things. It's not easy, so it takes practice. Alright, so doing great so far, though. I love this. I'm going to go ahead and kind of shade up one side of the face to be darker than the other side, because I can. I'm going to raise my highlight here just a bit higher. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, a lot of great stuff is going on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just select the highest color over here. And I'm going to bring it over here and apply it to this part of the face now. You're going to see just this blowout of color now. This is going to be like you're getting hit with a hard spotlight. And you're going to see this pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and start hitting it with this. Okay, so I'm just really going to start laying this in pretty thick. And like I said, it's going to get really bright all of a sudden on the face. And this is an area where you have to play it safe and you have to be careful with how much of this you're applying. Too much of this that you might be applying could cause, you know, that distortion I keep talking about, that fuzziness. Or it might look just so blown out, like someone took a picture of you and forgot to adjust some certain settings in the camera so that it's not so bright. Cameras work in a certain way where you can take your lens and you can open them and close them so it lets in more light or less light. But the more light you let in to such a high point, the less information you get in the camera because it's just too blinding. Think about flashing a flashlight in your eyes and then looking around and trying to find, you know, details of things. Well, you're too busy trying to get the brightness out of your eyes that you lose a lot of important details. Same thing that happens when you're painting like this. Your high point is the highest point where the light is smacking your face the most. Now, where does the highlight truly come in? Let me show you where the pure white truly comes into effect. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here to our character's eyes. Okay? Now I'm going to start in the exact same way, using the exact same spectrum. I'm going to come over here to the whites. We know that our eyes are white. They're not pure white. They're more of a gray. So I'm going to go ahead and start, same thing as I did with the face. I'm going to start in the gray, and I'm going to find a mid-tone of the gray. I'm going to make a new layer. That way I don't mess up this face that I've drawn. I actually really like what I got. And I'm going to go ahead with a 100% opacity and color this into gray. Now we need to keep in mind what shape the eyes are. Eyes are round, they're a ball, they're not flat, so we need to shape the eyes like a ball. And depending on where the light source is coming from, we have to build from that. Alright, so I've gotten the shadow put in. I've gotten the mid-tone put in, so now let me go a little bit more towards the shadow. You have to be really careful with how much shadow you apply to eyes, though. So I'm going to keep it really light. And I'm going to just drop my opacity way down because I really don't want to affect too much when it comes to dark. And I'm just going to apply it just a little bit around the edges just to say, you know, the eyelid is casting a shadow on the eyeball. I'm going to get more definition out of this by applying more white into this. So you can see just a very little bit, very subtle amount of dark. Now I'm going to select my midtone and I'm going to go a little bit more into the whites, just a little. Just grab that gray. Now, keeping my opacity low, I'm just going to kind of airbrush in some white. okay, it should immediately pop out. Looks like it does. So I'm doing really good. Now I'm going to go just a little bit more. Okay, I'm feeling good about this. I might take it out just a little bit wider. There we go. So now it's really starting to have some definition and shape. Now let me go ahead and apply an actual iris in here and kind of build up some colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to do this very quickly because I'm trying to get to another important feature of doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and very quickly apply in like a green. And I'll do it for the other eye as well. There we go. And let me go ahead and put in my pupil. Now what I'm actually going to do is I want to give some real definition to the pupil. So I'm going to zoom in even more. And I'm going to apply a gray for the pupil. Okay, I'll do the same over here. Now, this is where things get technical and at the same time kind of fun. I'm going to go a little bit darker. And I'm going to just kind of, as much as possible, just gently brush in this black. So I don't want it to completely fill. I want to try and give some depth to the gray, you know, to make it look like maybe you're looking inside the eye. It's amazing how black the inside of a pupil can be, but if you are so careful and you look just gently at it, sometimes you can actually see like you're looking into something, like you're looking into a hole or a chasm of the eye, you know? And I like getting that to look that way in my artwork as well. I like seeing depth. So I'm going to just gently, very carefully try and brush in some of this depth. I might select some lighter and apply some in here just to kind of give this depth look. Now when I zoom out, if I've done it right, there should be a lot of definition in that black, which it sure looks like there is. It might not look like it so much on the video, but it does on my end as I'm painting. And it's little details like this that just make the people who are taking your artwork and keeping it for themselves, that's what makes them go, oh my goodness, why does this look so much like this or like that, you know? That's what amazes them. So you want to get this as much as possible. Put every area of definition that you can. Alright, now, here's the wonderful thing. You see this right here? This is a gray. It looks pretty white. It looks almost as white as the white canvas does. And because you've built off of a gray and a mid-tone and a dark shadow, that looks like a pure white, but it's not. It's not even close. So I can go ahead and grab my pure white, and in another layer, just so I don't damage anything, I will apply this pure white right over top, and watch what happens. Bang. You can really, should I do that again? Bang. Boom. Psh, ah, people die. There you go. So you can see that even on the gray, which did look pure white, it has now been totally beaten back by the highlight that I've applied, which is just a white dot. But look at how much definition that gives to the eyes. It is not the pure white until you bring in the pure white for the eyes. Now there's other areas where pure white can come in handy, like if you're doing lips. Remember that something that is wet or moist is going to have a higher point of white. So in certain areas like that, that's where you might want to apply some dots of white, like on the lips. Or if someone is beading in sweat, you might want to go that route, you know. If you want things to become more wet and moist, you'll apply more high point. Why is that? And if you ask yourself that, think about it. Take a water drop and look at the water drop. There is a high point of white in there because it is reflecting the things around it, just like chrome does. So when you want to do that, you're thinking, I need to put in more white, more reflection of the things around from a light source, and that's what makes stuff brighter and wetter and more moist. And that is my general thought of color theory for faces. It's that same idea that carries through in almost anything. When you're painting cars, when you're doing, clothes on people, in any of those things. If you want it to look more matte, like a shirt does not reflect. It does not have a white point. it would look more matte. So that means that you're not going to be reaching, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. You're not going to be reaching into your high points as much, you know, the very, very top of your spectrum. Just like, let me think, just like if you want something to look metallic or wet or moist or something like that, you'll reach into the high point. You'll go to the highest point and then you'll start working your way to the right, to the left, into the whites, into the high point, into the I just said it a couple seconds ago, into the highlight, to build out those water tones or the chromes or whatever of that nature. So, and the truth is, when you look at chrome does not have a lot of gradient, really. What it has is very sharp lines that build up a final thing. Only because chrome is almost mirror, which means it's going to perfectly mirror things around it. So when you're painting chrome, you're not actually painting chrome, you're painting a mirror of what chrome is reflecting. So that means that you're probably not going to have a lot of fuzz. You're not going to have a lot of airbrushed look. It's probably going to be hard edges. And then in other ways, you know, like a brushed metal, brushed aluminum, armor for like a knight or a soldier or something like that, something that's shown wear and tear is going to have less of a high point, less of a hard point, and it could end up having more airbrush or fuzz to it. Okay, that's about 36 minutes of me talking about this. That is my color theory. It's as simple as that. Like I said, for those of you who have gone to school and know all this stuff, I congratulate you, but let me tell you, I hope that there are some people out there who've just had an aha moment like I did when I figured this out, and I really hope that you'll take it and put it to work. Test it on everything. Look at it in every day. Find things around you and go, okay, does it have a high point? No, it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Or it does. Why is it? Oh, maybe it's metallic. Maybe it's plastic. You know, look at everything around you. The proof is in the pudding. Look around you and you'll see it everywhere. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, I like what some other YouTubers say. They say, have I earned your subscribe? Please hit the subscribe button if you like my stuff. And if you want to see more videos, please leave a comment in the comment box below. I do read them. I read all of them, and thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate your support. If you make a comment, please make sure to keep it clean. Check out my website, TimMichaelArts.com. I have lots of tutorials on my website. You can also purchase a caricature from me if you want, from my caricature store. What else do I have? I have a Tumblr. Look up TimMichaelArts on Tumblr. I have an Instagram, TimMichaelArts on Instagram. I have a Facebook. Look up TimMichaelArts on Facebook and like my Facebook page. Tons of people on my Facebook page. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support on there as well. I'm just everywhere. Look me up. Twitter. Anywhere. Just look up TimMichaelArts and you'll probably find me. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you richly. I'll see you next time, and I love you guys. I say that every single time, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for supporting me when I haven't been able to be here to support you guys. I'm so sorry, but I will try and put out more videos as time allows, and as you guys know, marriage removes time. But I know that my bride is very supportive in what I do, and I know that she will be at my back, pushing me forward to continue it. So thank you so much, guys. Leave your comments in the comment box below. I love reading them, and I hope that you enjoy. I hope that this was worth 2 months of waiting for another video to come out. Alright, so I love you guys. I'll see you next time right here on TimMichaelArts here on YouTube. Check you later.